Good evening, everyone. Now, some of my students may find this series of videos boring because they have watched my featured video and read the book I discussed in that video. However, some of my other students will find this series of videos far more interesting. Why, do you ask? Some of my students have watched my featured video but never read the book I discussed in that video. Others have watched my featured video and actually read the book I discussed, but they didn't comprehend what the book actually said. Then I have other students who have actually watched my featured video, read the book I discussed in that video, but they never bothered to put the skills they learned from that book to good use. They thought it would just be a complete waste of time. So for all of those students, I'm actually creating and uploading this set of videos to help them out. It will boost their self-esteem and give them the opportunity to finally use the skills that they should have learned from that book. And for those who didn't comprehend what that book was actually telling them to do, well, this will help them and enable them to use those skills in a more practical way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to refer, in this particular video, to an issue of the Reader's Digest that was published in July of 1996. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you remember, using what was taught in that book, I'm going to help you to remember a couple of jokes. That's a great way to start. Alright? So, if you happen to have with you the issue of the Reader's Digest that was published in July of 1996, which if you go to just about any library you can find this, okay? And maybe if you look hard enough online you can actually find this particular issue of the Reader's Digest somewhere, okay? If you have it readily available, that's fine. If you don't, you can pretty much gather from what I'm going to say next what the joke actually was. Okay, you turn over to page number 14. If you have the actual issue of the Reader's Digest, you turn to page 14. I actually have the issue of Reader's Digest, so anyway, let's turn to page 14. Go to the bottom of the page. Okay. Now, how are you going to remember this particular joke? There's actually 3 of them there, but I'm going to help you remember the middle one. Okay? The joke in the middle, I'm going to help you remember. Okay? Now, how are you going to remember this? All right. What you're going to do is you're going to picture in your head. Okay? You're going to envision a guy wearing a tuxedo and holding a top hat with a bunny inside, sitting in an orthodontist chair. That's a pretty bold picture, don't you think? Think about that. Here is a guy wearing a tuxedo, holding a top hat with a bunny rabbit inside. I think you can guess what kind of profession this guy was in if he's wearing a tuxedo like that and holding a top hat with a bunny rabbit inside. I think you can guess his profession. Okay? If not, you can go ahead and ask me and I'll tell you exactly what it was. Alright. Now, the next thing I want you to imagine is while this guy's sitting in this chair, he not only is holding this top hat with a bunny inside, but on his chest he has a sign, okay, and the sign is hooked around his neck with a chain, okay, and written on the sign is the word oops, okay. Now, with all this being envisioned, now I want you to envision an orthodontist standing next to the chair while holding a Novocaine shot in his hand. Now, if you can picture all this in your head, it's not hard to picture the joke. Okay? And again, if you do have a chance, go to the Reader's Digest. It was the 1996 July issue. Go to page 14 and you'll find the joke down on the bottom of the page. Okay. Now, out of the same issue, if you will now go to page number 17, how are you going to remember this particular joke, okay? The way you remember this particular joke is you imagine a Coast Guard soldier. Now that's not too hard because all you have to do is look it up on Google search and you can take a look at a picture of a Coast Guard soldier. Okay? So you see a picture of a Coast Guard soldier. He is standing waist deep in water. And he is now wearing a flotation device. Think of a silly flotation device that this guy could be wearing. Okay? And he's holding up one hand. And inside that hand is a brownie with a wig on it. And this brownie with a wig on it is actually pointing to a couple of things that are on his shirt. Okay, this Coast Guard has a couple of things on his shirt. The first thing he has is a pin, okay? It's an actual pin that is in the shape of an airplane. Right underneath that pin is another pin that looks like a sandy beach. Somewhere where you go to a beach, there'd be the ocean, okay? But there is a beach pin underneath this airplane pin. Okay? And the brownie that's wearing the wig is now pointing to both of those pins. And by just envisioning all of this, you can actually remember the joke that was on page 17 of the July 1996 issue of Reader's Digest. Do you see how this Reader's Digest thing works? By just picturing these two things, you can remember two full jokes. Now here's the kick. You can use this information, utilize it, when you go out in public, and you can actually tell these jokes. People will find them funny, and they'll get a good laugh out of it. And that's a great way to break the ice. Alright, I will tell you more in a future video, so I want you to stay tuned.